online. Initiating startup sequence. It's going to need a few minutes to get charged up.
You really think that's gonna work?
I built it. Of course it's going to work.
Inspires confidence, doesn't it?
Null sector forces are inbound to your position.
Oh, dang it. I meant to...
They're not as young as they used to be.
For total decisive, they aren't as strong, but they tear up the payload.
I can't feel the food. Need to keep it safe.
To get warmed up.
So it's ready to move out?
Not quite yet.
I should have known. Team, get ready for another wave of attacks.
Setting out the welcome mat.
On the ledge over there.
Claudia? What was that sound?
Seems like we hit another little snag.
Define little snag.
Forget about it. Defend the payload. It just needs a little more time. It's going to work. Trust me.
What's the people off the payload?
And what's up, everybody? It is the Dark Conservatarian, and hope you appreciated that little intermission footage right there, as I am still like, oh, and I just noticed that I am still showing OBS. Oops. Oh well. So excuse me for the autism, for the major autism right there, folks. But as I'm still trying to master some things with OBS, I'm not an OBS expert, so forgive me for that. But I hope you appreciated the little intermission footage right there, and I hope that it was like somewhat satisfactory. Like I said, I'm experimenting with OBS and getting something like that up so that I could have something for my viewers to watch while I'm still trying to figure things out for the first few seconds of while that we're technically live. Like sharing around the link like I just did right now, and get another thing set up, unmuting us and all that stuff. And so for today's episode of Strike Force News, I would like to introduce a new co-host. This has probably been a long time coming, but say hello, Reckless Trucker.
Hello, Reckless Wucker.
Yes, so Reckless Trucker, you all know who Reckless Trucker is. He is the guy who made Chatsburg absolutely rage quit, and he hasn't been very active this year, but he was a whole lot
You
active
dishonest actor.
Right, but he was a whole lot active last year, and so that kind of really got him on the map for me personally, and so that made him somewhat of a candidate for a Strike Force News podcast member, but I did not make the official decision to put him as one of the co-hosts until just right now. But yes, here we are though.
I appreciate it.
Yes. So here we are now, and we are going to first open up with responding to a video by SmileyP, as he is like in one of my Twitter group chats, Strike Force Discussion, and this is not in any kind of bad faith disrespect towards the guy. I mean, he's a respectable guy overall, I would say. But to get the pleasantries out of the way, in one of my Strike Force discussion streams, he shared this one response video that he had done himself. That was a response video to My2Cents, and he was all like, "Respond to me, bruh," and not quite so obnoxious of an
me, faggot.
Yes, fight me, faggot. And not quite so much of an obnoxious way, but nonetheless, he was all like, "Challenge me, respond to me, bruh." And so I was thinking on eventually getting to it, and now here we are. And also after this, we are going to be talking about the whole Jacob Blake situation, and probably reading a couple of articles and probably get that out of the way. And oh, now I understand why you have Kate Upton on screen there. Yes, exactly. We're going to start off with responding to a video by SmileyP, and then we're going to get into the actual news stuff, and hopefully it'll be enjoyable. So, you said that you had never heard of SmileyP. Hey, Reckless Trucker?
No, all I know is that Smiling Peter sounds like a weird chomo serial killer.
He's actually an ANCOM. He's not one of the... He's one of the less...
so he's evil.
I don't know. I think that would be putting it kind of ungenerously. He's one of the less obnoxious... less bad faith ANCOMs that I have come across anyways. I've actually had him on live stream a couple of times before, and it was a decent conversation both times I had him on. But yes, that is what we're going to be doing right now, folks. So he made a response video to My2Cents. My2Cents made a video reviewing Kate Upton and, well, talking about Karl Marx and how Kate Upton is an anecdotal example of debunking Karl Marx's class theory, I think is basically how you could put it. Now, the whole class theory side of things, the whole technical semantics of bourgeoisie and proletariat, I haven't researched enough to know exactly, to fully nail down the concrete substance of the whole class theory, the whole definitions, what Karl Marx himself anyways defined proletariat or bourgeoisie. But I'm going to do my best on that part. There are some other parts in this video, though, that I wanted to respond to. One part in particular about slavery, for example. So let's get right into this. You ready, Trucker?
I am as ready as... Yes.
How on earth does gorgeous swimsuit model Kate Upton debunk Karl Marx? Why, he's one of the most influential thinkers
Karl
of the 19th
Marx is just
century.
sniffing the hell out of
gets
Kate
paid
Upton
for
there.
striking a pose.
Did y'all hear Trucker right there? He said it looks like Karl Marx is like sniffing the shit out of Kate Upton. Excuse me.
Quite easily, as a matter of fact.
I can't hear the video.
You can't? Then, 1 second. I thought I...
No.
1 second. I thought I had like set it up so that it would like share my audio. I'm pretty sure that I did. Can y'all watching hear the video playing well enough?
Soon to find out how.
Whew, can't wait.
There it goes.
All right. And by the way, I do want to forgive everybody. SmileyP did not balance out his audio very well, as the video that he's responding to, My2Cents' video, is considerably louder than his own mic audio. But yeah, so we're going to do our best to compensate for that, though. In fact, I think I'm going to turn up the desktop audio just a bit to so that maybe the audience can hear better. There we go.
Can't wait.
Hello everyone, this is My2Cents. If you've ever had a discussion with a Marxist, or just a socialist of any stripe, it probably wasn't long before they started telling you about class theory. They tell us that capitalism is the story of the bourgeoisie who own the means of production, and the proletariat who provide labor to the bourgeoisie in exchange for a wage.
Actually, you're not that wrong here. More just buried the lead. In Marx's theory, the bourgeoisie own the means of production, and the proletariat work it for the benefit of the bourgeois. Long ago in America, we had slavery, which had no wages at all, under capitalism, by the way, until a war, not the market, ended it. But the classes were still the same.
Pause the laws.
Go on. Go on, I paused it.
Yeah. First off, I would like to say that slavery was not capitalism, as capitalism requires consensual trade between parties. Slavery is not consensual, therefore it is not capitalist.
Wait,
I would also like to point out that all the major... Yeah, that's what he said. He said, and back in the day in America, we had slavery under capitalism. And I would also like to point out that if you go and you read...
Go on.
I'd also like to point out, if you go and you read the writings of pro-slavery activists from the time period, they were also anti-capitalist.
Yeah, and there's also Adam Smith, for example, pretty much considered as the godfather of capitalism, or the thought leader of capitalism. The first guy who came up with the... I don't know if he technically came up with the term, but he came up with the economic theory that would eventually be referred to as capitalism. That was an alternative to mercantilism, which mercantilism was like heavy handling of trade, for lack of better wording, as I generally hear it to be. Capitalism, not as much. The handling of trade by the government, more specifically, like tariffs and that sort of other crap. But I want to rewind it because
tariffs and contracts of monopoly and whatnot.
Yeah.
Wrong here. More just buried the lead. In Marx's theory, the bourgeoisie own the means of production, and the proletariat work it for the benefit of the bourgeois. Long ago in America, we had slavery, which had no wages at all, under capitalism, by the way, until a war.
Outside of slavery, we were capitalists, but slavery is not inherently capitalist. For example, the prime example that I'll bring up is Mao's China. The people there were pretty much slaves. They were mandated to work for the good of the entirety of China by Mao. So even if you want to say that there was slavery under capitalism, slavery is not explicitly and exclusively capitalist. It does not exclusively exist under capitalism. And also, I mean, SmileyP, and another point.
It's existed under every economic system.
Yes, exactly. So, SmileyP is not obligated, of course, to believe me on this point, but it is a point that I had brought up to him before. Even under capitalism, I would still say that even employees still, in a way, own the means of their production, in the way that they can, take their means of production, or their production, more specifically, I guess, to another person. They did not 100% own the means of production. The employers did not 100% own the means of production, unless they were literally slaves. That's the only way that I can think that an employer 100% owns means of production of anybody, is if they literally own them as a person, and just force
the moment that happens, it's no longer capitalism.
Exactly.
Not the market ended it. But the classes were still the same. The bourgeois, who owned the plantations, and the proletarian slaves who worked them, for the sole benefit of the owner. Now, thanks to those pesky regulations you ANCAPs hate so much, that we got from the Civil War, you can't profit off of someone's labor for free. Unless they're...
Okay, and that's the biggest thing that I want to respond to, because that is, quite frankly, pretty much a straw man that SmileyP put on ANCAPs and anarchists, outside of ANCOMs anyway, because he himself is a self-proclaimed ANCOM, but ANCAPs, any good faith ANCAP is not against anti-slavery law in of itself. Any law that is meant to reaffirm people's natural rights, and one of them being to self-ownership, to not be a slave, essentially, that is one law that ANCAPs don't have a gripe with. The only thing that...
Well, let me word it this way for you, because all right. The thing is that ANCAPs have something called the NAP. I'm sure we all know about it, the non-aggression principle. Slavery violates the NAP. Anybody that thinks it doesn't literally must not know what the acronym stands for.
Right. So by default, and that alone, capitalists anarcho-capitalists do not believe in slavery. ANCAPs, in the ultimatum of things, they are against the existence of government in general. So by default, once the government is gotten rid of, then technically those anti-slavery laws would become null and void along with the government. But even without the existence of a government, ANCAP still in the ultimatum of things, morally speaking, and generally, might I say, because there's some self-proclaimed psychopathic ANCAPs that are like for slavery and I guess and other shit like that. But even like without a government, they are still going to have their own ways of preventing slavery. It's a violation of the NAP. They might even have like their own mobs or whatever the heck. I can only envision what they're going to do to prevent slavery as an entirely. Like, obviously, I'm not an ANCAP myself. I'm just like arguing devil's advocate for my ANCAP following. And just quite frankly, again, really, Smiley, really, it's a straw man.
It's a straw man through and through.
To be implying that essentially that ANCAPs are against slavery laws, it's dumb. Sorry, but not sorry, bro.
An intern or a prisoner, of course. America.
It's that simple.
Yeah, and slavery isn't an inherent part of America. That wasn't what America was founded upon. That was, unfortunately, a ball and chain attached to America in its founding. But all the same, it wasn't like an inherent ingredient and fiber piece of the founding of America and America as a country.
Well, I would say that if a nation being founded and happening to have slavery at the same time of its founding makes slavery part and parcel of a country's fabric, then every single African nation needs to start giving up their reparations.
Mm-hmm. And JC Armitage in the chat says, yeah, Smiley's sound mixing was complete shit on his end. Not much DarkCon can do about that. Yeah, I really can't. I mean, I got his, and also Jessica Brewster in the chat says, I can hardly hear the one guy referring to SmileyP. Again, not much I can do because I got his audio. I got the desktop audio on full blast, people. For you all to hear the video as best as you can, but outside of that,
if you guys want to blame anybody, blame communist incompetence.
Jeez. No, in all seriousness, SmileyP is a nice guy, and I would hope that once he sees this stream, that he would like retract the frankly straw man that he made about ANCAPs and slavery. But nonetheless, and I'm pretty sure that all the freaking ANCAPs in my fan base, that they're going to be having their own arguments in the live chat against slavery as well, addressing how they're against it. So if don't just take my word for it, look at the live chat when you go looking back on this live stream to see what all the ANCAPs have to say against slavery. Like, for example, Zachary Colley says it was mainly the southern states, colonies that had antebellum slavery. New England and the Midwest hardly had any slavery, if at all. That's not exactly an argument against slavery in of itself, the concept itself, but nonetheless. JC Armitage says, say, how small is Smiley's channel? Oh, no, wait, that's not it. One. Sent1 1000. I think Sent1 1000 is an ANCAP. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sent1. But he says, if capitalism is slavery, then taxation is voluntary. Yeah, exactly. With that sarcasm right there is saying that he's against it. One more thing. Slavery, JC Armitage says that one more thing. Slavery was state enforced, not a market demand. Precisely, JC.
Amen, brother.
I think JC, well, I don't know. JC is like gender ambiguous. We do not know if a JC is a girl or a boy, but we just typically assume that she's a she.
Amen, sister.
Anything can be considered a means of production, quote unquote, if you're created enough, by the way, says JC as well. All right. Excuse me.
What about you, Rye?
Does he also not realize that the state were the ones who legitimized the ownership of human beings in the first place, says JC. And honestly, I don't think he really does. Go on, Trucker.
I wouldn't even say that the state legitimized it as much as they simply added paperwork to it, because slavery's been a thing as long as the existence of war has been a thing. Because, you go conquer a tribe and you take their women and men because screw them. They're assholes. That's how it used to be. Yeah, it's just what people did back then.
if Ancom SmileyP is where government is, I don't get the full chat comment that you're saying right there, Sent1. It's a little bit confusing. But essentially, he says in the chat that yes, he is an ANCAP. TrueGrave says, "What in the hell is going on in here?" Responding to a video that SmileyP that he's responding to my 2 cents. And further up in the chat, further talking about means of production, Zachary Colley says, "Yeah, anyone creative enough can turn anything into a means of production, quote unquote." JC is correct. Yeah. Oh, and Zachary also says something about slavery. Not only that, but slavery represents the antithesis of what we stand for. At most, you might be able to argue for indentured servitude to pay off a debt, assuming that is in the agreement, if that. Yeah, exactly. That'd be the only exception, really, when it comes to any slavery. But here's the thing. Black people were not indebted to white people during the transatlantic slave trade. So there is no debt involved between white people and black people back in the 1800s and before that even.
Well, not black people, slaves specifically.
Yeah, well,
because as a matter of fact, actually, several African nations loaned for rent slaves from other tribes that they owned. And so at one point, the UK government was in debt to African nations buying slaves.
Oh, no, Sent1 says, "I was asking if wanting the government, then I am, but I never call myself as an ANCOM, I mean limited." Sent1, no. Sent1 I was asking if you're an ANCAP. I was wanting to clarify if you're an ANCAP. Or what do you politically identify as, Sent1? Go ahead and say it in the chat. Hey, DarkCon, check out this guy's socialist links on YouTube. His channel is hilarious. I might have to check it out. That channel is the funniest socialist fail, says Pancake 05. JC Armitage further on slavery. It should be pretty obvious, but slavery is a violation of the NAP since it's about forcing people into giving up their time and or labor against their will. Exactly, JC. Thanks for the clarification. So, anyway, I'm going to continue on with this video before we get on too long.
Two classes, and the bourgeoisie are exploiting the proletariat by extracting surplus value from their labor, constantly striving to lower wages and ensuring that the wealth inequality gap grows exponentially. This leads to a few bourgeoisie who spend their days swimming in piles of gold, while everyone else groans in pain, hardly able to afford a crust of bread with their measly wages.
Yeah, I had to pause it because Smiley is about to talk and he's super quiet, and Reckless Trucker's laughing is so super loud in comparison. But, yeah.
No, I got something to say to that.
Go ahead. By the way, that was my 2 cents that I was just speaking right there, just FYI.
No, he hit the nail on the head, actually, as far as what they believe. I didn't realize it was not SmileyP. Go on.
All right.
Yep, that's pretty much it, actually, except for the part where you don't actually know what the means of production is and therefore where the exploitation comes from.
Condescending much, SmileyP?
SmileyP.
Substantiate as to how you think that he does not know what the means of production is. I mean, for me to like try and break down the best of my ability what the means of production means, or at least what communists and socialists in general view the means of production anyways, it is the resulting product, or the resulting outcome, positive outcome of a person's labor. That would be the means of production.
No. The means of production are the means by which you produce. They're all the resources that are tied into the creation of an object, or a good or a service, I should say.
Well, that's kind of what I meant though when I said it earlier.
Yeah.
But it was clumsy wording, but that was the best that I could put it. Anyways, go on, Trucker.
I would like to add to this, though, that the reality of the matter is that what's going on isn't the so-called extraction of surplus wealth. Because, well, for one, surplus wealth doesn't exist. It's just wealth. It's just value, right? That's all it is. right? There's no extra wealth or value just floating in the ether.
Yeah.
What is going on when you create an object is, quite frankly, you're creating value. You take some shitty wood and you create a chair, you made value. You made value out of that. You made the wood more valuable than it was. And what's going on between the quote unquote bourgeoisie who owns the factory and the machinery for cutting down the wood and processing the wood, and then he owns the machines for shaping the wood and the materials for painting the wood and staining the wood and blah 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 blah. And between him and the proletariat who does the labor that's necessary is that they've agreed consensually that you take my means of production that I own, you put in your labor, and then we split the value between ourselves in whatever way that we see fit. You see, they're not taking extra value away from the worker. They're essentially loaning the worker their equipment and getting value out of it while the worker is also getting value in the form of, money.
True Grave in the chat says, great, he's drunk. Damn right he is, True Grave.
Hey, how did you know it was a day ending in day?
And by the way, I do want to, I wish I could, go back in this stream. But earlier in the stream, I was mentioning Adam Smith, who is, pretty much the godfather of capitalism, or what would eventually become capitalism. The alternative market theory that is an alternative to mercantilism at the time. I wanted to mention how he said that slavery is disadvantageous to capitalism, ultimately. So, basically, the guy who founded capitalism, the concept of capitalism, said that slavery is not inherently part of capitalism and therefore is in fact antithesis to it in a way. So that's what the point I wanted to say in bringing up Adam Smith earlier. But then you fucking interrupted, trucker, damn it.
I'm sorry. Blame drunkenness and yourself for inviting me.
No, but in all seriousness, so we actually went off on a tangent earlier is what happened, and then I lost my train of thought for what I was going there. But anyway, let's continue on.
Now,
Amen.
Before any of you Marxists accuse me of misrepresenting Karl Marx's view of class theory, listen to noted Marxist professor Richard Wolff explain it himself.
The way class works in our society can best be understood if you think about how a business works. In most businesses, the people who do the work come 5 days a week, use their brains and muscles doing what the employer sets them as tasks with the equipment and materials the employer provides. At the end of the day, they go home, and the employer keeps the fruits of their labor, which the employer then sells. And the goal of the employer is to get more money when he sells the output than it cost him to buy the tools, equipment, raw material, and hire those workers. Class is this difference between those who do the work, the overwhelming majority, and those who gather the profit into their hands.
Different socialists have slightly different terms for that.
Yeah, I will grant that's not that unfair of a description. To be quite
I
frank.
would like to add that the only poor person that's ever given me a job was myself, and those haven't worked out great.
Let's see. Okay. So, sorry about that, folks. I was just checking something. Let's go on.
This concept. Bernie Sanders is fond of talking about the 1% and the 99%. But no matter what progressive you're talking to, they have some kind of very simple narrative about haves and have-nots.
Okay, and I do want to say that My2Cents quoting Bernie Sanders given a basic breakdown of Bernie Sanders' rhetoric about how he grovels on or whinges on, more specifically, about the 1% or even the 2% sometimes. Or he might even get a bigger number of the top rich people, but whatever percentage. Whinges on about the 1%, and that is basically where the confusion of definitions here is when it comes to bourgeoisie and proletariat. I mean, it's... Even if you want to say that technically My2Cents got the definitions wrong of bourgeoisie and proletariat, it's not entirely his fault. It's the fault of people like Bernie Sanders and other people that go talking about the rich people and acting like it's so evil in of itself.
Well, I would add to this that even if he didn't say it, what he's identifying is a real issue here, in that Bernie Sanders is not a democratic socialist. Bernie Sanders is a filthy communist.
Yeah. Someone 1000 says, BS, I say both employers and employees both benefit, but the employer and owner benefit the most. Obviously, yeah.
I wouldn't say they benefit the most. Hell no. The employee does. He gets to go home and not worry.
Well, minus the idea of possibly losing his job.
Yeah, but then he'll just go work for someone else. Meanwhile, that previously rich guy might be homeless now.
Oh, yeah, if the business gets shut down, either forcefully by the government because of a certain lockdown, coronavirus.
Cough, coop.
Yeah. Or because of other shit like losing to the competition, which losing to competition within the market is totally legitimate, but all the same, it still is a big concern on the part of both employer and employee, for that matter. But a bigger part on the employer, because he invested all of his time and effort into building a company that now comes tumbling down, whereas the employee did not do as much to invest into the company. I mean, unless the employee is like some upper up exec working right beside the owner of the company, or a manager or something else like that. But I digress.
Oppressor and oppressed.
So why do you think that is, Sense?
Oppressor and oppressed, yes. Again, with the more of the confusion of why we get, confused about definitions.
What is it that the haves have and the nots don't? It's not just money. It's the means of production, land, office space, machinery, that they coerce the proletariat into working for them.
No, wrong. No, excuse me, Trucker. Let me address this. No, SmileyP, they did not coerce them into working. There's no... I mean, yes, the transatlantic slave trade, that was obviously coercive towards the slaves, but that's not inherently capitalist. But in a regular milquetoast employment, like, say, the company I work for, it's not coercive. I'm not forced to keep on working for that company. Nobody within them, or at least most people anyways, I do not know if there's, like, any slave trafficking or human trafficking going on to coerce people into working. But generally speaking, within the modern Western world, employment is not coercive. Go on, Trucker.
Well, I would like to add that should somebody not like their job, they feel like they're being taken advantage of, or that they're not being paid the right value for their labor, I would like to add there's this magical thing, right? There's this magical thing. You can see it right here. It's called a door, and you can walk out of it.
Yeah. You walk out of it and go through another door to another company.
Right. Yeah, you literally can. Like right now, even with all the Rona shit going on right now, going on right now.
Yeah.
There's about 7 different companies around me in my local small town, by the way, that are hiring people. The lowest paying one of them pays $9.
Truegrave says Adam Smith destroyed slavery. Yep, destroyed the concept of it and disowned it from his own economic theory. Exactly, Truegrave. And hello, Night Shift in the chat. Glad that you could join us. What the fuck up is...
Truegrave, send me a text.
What the fuck is up with the background noise? I don't know. It could possibly be some non-reckless truckers, and because he's rustling around and stuff like that. And I'm trying to... Where can I find that video? Says Nightshift 10,000. I'll provide a link to this video that we're responding to in post after we go off air. Maybe I'll send it to you directly in DMs as well, Nightshift 10,000. But in the meantime, let's continue with our response.
For a wage, because if they don't, they will eventually starve.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah,
where?
That's the risk that they are taking. That I mean, if employee was to just up and up quit without having any alternative or backup measure, well, then that is more on them than on the employer themselves, honestly.
But also, let me add this thing. There's a wonderful thing that we have
wait, I
in
wanna,
this
I wanna
evil.
I want to add one more thing. Unless the employer is like stealing their employees' food, they are not causing them to starve. I'll put it that way. Go on, trucker.
Well, you see, there's this other wonderful thing that happens here in America. When people are homeless, they get free food. Go to literally any church in the country, and I guarantee you, unless Joel Osteen runs it, you will be getting free food. I guarantee it.
Right.
All right. That doesn't work. Go down to your local food bank. That doesn't work. Go to your local government and just ask them, where do I get government food? Guess what? They will give you food. People do not starve in this country. It is a myth. It is silly. And anybody who says that people starve in this country is what I like to call wrong.
JC Armitage in the chat says, and Smiley's system, it's not work or starve, but rather work and starve. Yeah, as the case with Mao, as I will say again, and the Holodomor? Yeah, the Holodomor with and
It's
go on.
It's the case with Mao, with Stalin, with Lenin, with Che Guevara, Fidel Castro. It's all of them.
I don't know the specific examples when it comes to those other dictators. I'm just mentioning the ones right off the top of my head. But yeah. Anyway, the problem in the West is obesity, not starvation, says Zachary Colley. Yeah, precisely.
We have really fat, poor people here.
All right, I'm playing the video, so.
Proletarians, obviously, not the capitalists.
And what's more important,
wage, because if
Rewind.
they don't, they will eventually starve. The proletarians, obviously, not the capitalists.
Never mind. That would be getting nitpicky. I could like go on a tangent about how there are two definitions to capitalist, not just people who privately own the means of production, but also those who favor capitalism. But I already went on it, so we're just gonna move on.
and what's more important, they're convinced that everyone is born into whatever class they're in. You're either part of the oppressive capitalist class or an oppressed labor worker. And even if there are some rare exceptions, the vast majority of people will never be able to change what class they're a part of, no matter how hard they work. So where did Marx go wrong?
I just want to note, people, that Smiley did not exactly correct him on that. I mean, I did watch this video sometime before today, but I can't remember if maybe later he does, but let's see.
As I alluded to at the beginning, we're going to find the answer by looking to the beautiful and awe-inspiring swimsuit model, Kate Upton.
What do you think those
Damn
are,
them some tick bitties.
they triple D's or something?
I don't know. They seem like wonderful face covers.
Damn it, I cannot get the rewind thing because of the little notification right here. Hide. Oh, okay. Duh. I should have clicked that button long ass time ago within my own program here, folks. My bad. Holy shit, says Night Shift 10,000 in chat. Where did Marx go wrong, says JC? Everywhere.
Tig-o bitties.
Yep.
I like JC. Give him a...
Let's rewind a bit.
As I alluded to at the beginning, we're going to find the answer by looking to the beautiful and...
Hold on a second. We might... Oh, shit. Oh,
What's going on?
damn it. I think I might have lost the stream connection for some reason.
How dare you?
Skipped frames detected 16% over the last 2 minutes. Damn it. How do I restart it? How do I get it up and going again? Live stream offline? No! Did the stream go offline?
All right, when we got to the titties.
No, it went... Okay, it seems like it might be recovering. You know what? I'm going to close down some tabs here. Some rather unnecessary tabs. Maybe that's the thing.
Well, you did recently just start cutting in and out when talking, so.
Okay, I want to see, sorry everybody, having a little bit of boomer-esque type complications here.
Fucking boomers.
Alright, it seems that the stream has like automatically picked back up. Well, it says that the video output is low. Maybe if I don't go full screen. Maybe that's what, maybe it's taken up some excessive amount of RAM doing that shit. Alright, it says stream health.
All the blood.
Stream health is in the green now, so let's get on with it.
An awe-inspiring swimsuit model, Kate Upton. What does Kate Upton have to do with a discussion of class theory, you may ask? Well, I want you to consider this question. Based on Marx's explanation of the capitalist class and the labor class, which class does Kate belong to?
The proletariat. I'd explain why, but I don't think I could do a better job than you. Ladies and gentlemen, my 2 cents, defeating his own argument.
I highly disagree. I mean, I've tried to like research into it. As far as what Karl Marx.
Hello, you're cutting in and out.
Can you hear me?
All right, I can hear you now.
Stream complete offline. What the fuck? Streamers. Why is it having trouble right now?
Because clearly your internet is distracted by Tiggle Bitties.
I need to do something to try to do something to hardline my internet, for crying out loud. Because when I like,
for real, my internet's better than yours.
Yeah, because when I like back at Cross Creek, I was like hardlined into my internet hub. Now I'm doing wireless. I hope everybody can still somewhat see us right now. Stream complete. Bullshit it is. Stream health is in the red. This is disastrous. Fucking disastrous here.
Why would you do this to us, you communist? It's all his fault. Let's blame the communist for everything.
SmileyP is hacking into our internet, y'all.
All I'm saying is that we need to make McCarthyism great again.
Let's hope that things will smoothly run somewhat here for a little bit.
Which class does Kate belong
to? Or inherently mean just rich people. It means somebody who works and, well, essentially he's going to say that Kate Upton does not own the means of her own production, and therefore she is a part of the proletariat. But let's continue on.
Kate doesn't own Guess or Sports Illustrated. She doesn't own the cameras or studios where she appears. Kate simply sells her labor in exchange for a wage, which according to Marx, would make her a member of the oppressed and exploited proletariat.
That is one incredibly well-off oppressed person. I've never seen somebody oppressed do so well.
I just want to say that for the record, a rich proletarian, that sounds highly oxymoronic. I'm just gonna say.
It is oxymoronic.
And also, couldn't you say that in a way that Kate Upton owns other people's means of production in some, well, technically she does not hire the camera crew or anything else like that, but the cameraman, he's being like exploited not just by the Sports Illustrated magazines in a wage way, but also in a way by Kate Upton in the fact that the cameraman does not get to snap pictures of himself and end up on the front page magazine of some sports magazine on the front page of a sports magazine.
Look, let me put it this way for you.
Go on.
Let me put it this way for you. everybody in this relationship, between whether it be Kate Upton, Sports Illustrated, the cameraman, whatever facility they've rented out for the time period or area to take the photos, every party involved in this transaction that takes place, which will literally come to millions and millions and millions of dollars just to get some pictures of Kate Upton's tight ass body, right? Everybody involved is exploiting each other. And you know what? That's awesome, because everybody involved is making money consensually, and they're growing the pie, the fur pie.
Yeah, the way that the word exploitation gets used a lot in economics debates between capitalists and communists, particularly by communists, when they do it something as meager as like mere employment, calling that exploitation, the way that it gets so loosely used, I guess exploitation did nothing wrong. Not inherently, anyways.
No, the exploitation is wonderful as long as it's consensual.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on what type of exploitation that we're talking about. Just remember, if everything is exploitation, then nothing is exploitation, says JC Armitage. Yeah, that reminds me of Syndrome from The Incredibles. And if everyone's super, no one is.
No one is.
No one will be, but whatever the exact quote is. And yeah, so sorry people for the connection issues right there, but it seems that our stream is in the green right now. I do not know how exactly to improve that other than to do hardline. But the thing is, my internet hub is way on the other side of the apartment, is the main problem. And I do not have any jack in my walls here for me to hook up the internet hub into, so I can connect my computer into the internet hub ultimately. Otherwise, we would be making bank if that was the case, but no. Nonetheless, I don't know. Anyway.
Yet Kate has an estimated net worth of more than $10 million, which puts her in the top 1% of all Americans.
I also want to add, as far as means of production goes, like, yes, ultimately, the people that goes paying everybody the money, that gets earning the money by all the people who buy the Sports Illustrated magazines, is the people who own the magazines, ultimately. But at the same time, Kate Upton can just go to another sports magazine and get paid by them instead of, I don't know, whatever magazine that she currently shoots for. I mean,
dude, she could start her own web page and make millions off of it. People are that horny.
She can like ultimately take her production somewhere else, and the means would go to someone else ultimately, be it to herself, or it be a shared means by herself and the employees. Because let's remember here, folks, that the employer does not get all of the means of production. They just get a portion of it, whereas they have to pay means to their employees as well for them to want to stay in that job in the first place. So I guess that's the biggest problem that I have with Marxist theory when it comes to labor theory or class theory even. And by extension, class theory anyways.
Well, the problem with any Marxist theory is that it assumes that wealth exists in a static state and that the rich people are just extracting it from the world. Mm-hmm. And that's not true. Wealth grows over time. This is why we were forced to abandon the gold standard. We could not get enough gold to represent the amount of wealth in America.
Mm-hmm. I am getting fucking hot right now, folks. I should have cranked up my AC before this. Why did I have to go with the aesthetic of wearing a freaking pea coat? Too late now, though. What was I gonna say? There was some other point that I wanted to make about Kate Upton.
She has a nice titty.
Oh yeah, she's got some nice tits, but still, I still prefer black girls.
No, but don't lie. You would not deny Kate Upton titties in your face.
Honestly, I wouldn't. Zach likes fat chicks. No, I don't, Metal Doomer. I like curvy, thick chicks. I don't like chicks that have a big old paunch. I mean, they can have a little bit of chubby around the belly, but as long as it's like compensated in some other areas. I mean,
love handles are different from love grapples.
Yes. My girlfriends are better looking though, says Night Shift. Well, good for you, Night Shift, you fucking pimp. Anyway. There was some other point that I wanted to say in response about Kate Upton, but I can't remember what it was now. Oh yeah, now I remember. Notice that earlier in this video that SmileyP, he was playing the clip of My2Cents talking about how Marx believes that nobody can escape their own class. Well, that the proletariat cannot escape their own class. And SmileyP has not responded to that part. So on that side of things, Kate Upton does just flat out debunk that part of Karl Marx's theory on class, anyways, because Kate Upton was able to climb her way up to become a millionaire off of her looks, or at least $100,000. Be living off fat, anyways, so fat to where that she could like retire right now and not have to work for the rest of her life practically if she just lived more meagerly, anyways. But go on, Trucker.
Well, I would like to add too here the issue of the proletariat and the bourgeoisie and nobody ever being able to escape their proletariat status. Let's just go back in time about 10,000 years ago. All of humanity was poor. Everyone was poor by every standard imaginable. Everyone was poor. All right. There isn't. So the question then becomes, where did this mysterious bourgeoisie class come from? Did they fall out of the sky? No, they were people that were inventive and creative enough to create wealth that others wanted. Well, 10,000 years ago, that may not be so. They may have just stolen it, to be honest. But you get my point. But
right. I mean, there was like a person could argue that there was a whole lot more theft going on in the early days of civilization between different civilizations and different peoples, anyways, than there is nowadays. But was there more to your point, Tucker?
Yeah, but my overall point here is that, like, poverty isn't a mystery. It isn't a mystery why people are poor. And Marxists like this guy are trying to say, oh, people are poor because the bourgeoisie. No, people are inherently poor because humans rose out of poverty. The mystery is how to create wealth.
Right. All right.
Anyway, that's all.
Our stream health is still good. It's in the green, so let's exploit it while we can. Ha! There's a good version of exploitation right there. Me trying to exploit to the good solid internet connection that we have right now, so that we can like watch more of this video.
And herein lies the disconnect. In Marx's theory, net worth doesn't define class. Whether or not one owns the means of production does. And what did you say earlier?
I think I just basically spilt all my response to SmileyP on the whole point here that he's trying to make about proletariat and bourgeoisie a little bit earlier, so I'm going to continue on.
Kate doesn't own Guess or Sports Illustrated. She doesn't own the cameras or studios where she appears. Kate simply sells her labor in exchange for a wage.
Almost all of the wealth and much of the income is going to the top 1%.
How can it be the case that Kate Upton is an oppressed labor worker, but simultaneously a member of the 1%?
Because since she doesn't own the means of production.
How is she oppressed, though? That's part of the question of My2Cents.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know what P is going to be saying next, and he's going to be, he's using pedantic. Well, Smiley is not answering the question. He's using a straw man again. The question is, how can somebody be an oppressed proletariat and be stupid rich?
Well, okay.
He ain't going to answer it.
I don't know if it's technically a straw man at this point, but it was definitely a straw man earlier when he was saying, when he was like implying that ANCAPs are against slavery protections or
Well,
protections
no.
against slavery.
All right, well, all right, maybe it's not a straw man. He's using semantics because everybody understands that the point of the proletariat bourgeoisie is the people that own shit and have wealth, and then the poor oppressed people that are hungry. Which, how can you be oppressed and horribly, downtrodden in society and have $10 million?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's part of my 2 cents' question, but he doesn't seem to address it entirely. But we're going to rewind it.
Kate Upton is an oppressed labor worker, but simultaneously a member of the 1%.
Because since she doesn't own the means of production, the cameras, sets, magazine printers, etc., by modeling, she is doing labor for a wage, and definitionally by working or laboring as a model, yes, what she's doing is considered labor, whether you like it or not, using the means of production rather than owning said means of production. She is generating more.
I don't think that. Yes, she could. What she does is labor, whether you like it or not. 2 cents. I highly doubt that any point my 2 cents was saying that Kate Upton's modeling was not a labor of sorts.
I'm just gonna say I'm pretty certain that my 2 cents appreciates her labor a lot.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, if you wanted to point anything out as a straw man, that almost borderlines on straw manning my 2 cents again as well.
What? Your stream's gonna drop.
My stream is gonna drop. I'm still in the green right here on my end.
Okay.
It's still in the green. I mean, it must have been between our connections, you and I. But me and YouTube are fine right now. But anyway, so my 2 cents point is not that Kate Upton doesn't work. His point is that whether or not a person labors is irrelevant to how good or bad a person is, their status is anyways, within society. So, hey guys, what's going on? It says memes of production, or memes of destruction, excuse me. Now we're going to get confused here. We're responding to a video talking about the means of production, memes of destruction. That's what we're doing.
I don't like this situation. It's awkward and it rhymes too much.
Yeah.
Wealth than she is being paid, however much or little that may be, with the surplus going to the owners and shareholders who are generally not involved in the laboring process. Do you really think the owners of Vogue are the ones taking the pictures of her, booking her shoot, editing her pictures? No, other members of the proletariat are, as you mentioned, selling their labor to Johnny Vogue at definitionally less than it is worth, so that Johnny V can get paid.
Wait, what? I mean, obviously, the raw ingredient, that being just snapping the picture of Kate Upton, is obviously worth less than the final product, that being the picture of her that is spruced up with an editor or whatever, and then posted on a magazine and then shipped nationwide anyways. Obviously the raw ingredient that the single worker is going to be cheaper. The raw ingredient is going to be cheaper than the final product. So I don't get as to what your point is as to what is wrong here, Smiles.
Well, I would like to add that the investor, the shareholders and whatnot are putting in something towards this whole game, and it's called investment. Your money is also a representation of your time and your labor in the past and stuff that you've done. All right. Therefore, the people who are paying the wage are involved inherently because it's their money that's being transferred to the employees.
Let's keep in mind that a lot of times the owners of these companies are the brainstormers of the idea itself that they're going to create their business around, or how the business is going to work within its, inner workings. So it's not like that they're, I just hate this that far leftists do, that there's completely nothing done by an owner of a business.
They just sit back and suck up the wealth like a vacuum.
Metal Doomer says Starship Troopers is a bad film. Changed my mind. I'm not gonna try Metal Doomer because it's an understandable enough opinion, but I personally don't hate it.
Metal Doomer,
He says I'm kidding.
You're going to burn in hell for that comment.
He says I'm kidding, though. I think he wants to go. I think he wants to go to hell, though. He, as a Satanist, no.
Well,
JC Armitage.
Oh, then he gets big titty demon bitches.
JC Armitage says, and those company owners are providing the resources needed for the labor to even happen in the first place. I know he will never understand that, but still. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the owners of the company, they coalesce the resources for the employees, the tools for the employees to work the job in the first place. That is if the freaking, you know, that is if the, geez, what am I trying to think of? That is if the employee doesn't provide their own tools anyways, in the first place. Moving on.
Well, they're basically the coordinators of everything. They're the one who had the idea. They're the one who had the wealth. They're the ones who managed to get it all together.
That's basically what I said earlier, by going on.
For doing absolutely nothing but having his fucking name on everything. Woo. What else you got?
Well, we already dismantled that argument.
Yeah, kind of. We're kind of a little bit putting the cart before the horse, like we're putting forth our arguments in response to talking points that he would later say, but nonetheless, let's go.
Well, I would say this just shows how incompetent the communist arguments are, because we're able to get to him before he is.
The difference is supply and demand. According to models themselves, the vast majority of women in the modeling industry spend their days going to auditions, most of them being turned down and receiving no compensation. Those that are hired receive wages that are less than impressive, even if they secure the position on the cover of a magazine.
I don't know. Sounds pretty exploitative to me, bro.
Well, if that's the case, well then exploitation did nothing wrong.
Yeah, I would just simply add that maybe those models aren't as good looking, or they aren't as good as managing the the contracts. They're not as smart as they think they are. It's probably a failing on their own end. Also, guess what? Just because you're pretty doesn't mean you're good enough to get Kate Upton level money.
Might not be as good looking or something else like that.
The difference is that whether you believe she deserves it or not, Kate Upton has reached a level of notoriety where producers know that products with her body on the cover will sell.
He's about to get very off track here, so I'm just going to speed it up a little bit.
As such, they're all competing.
I'm not so much convinced of that, but you go on, Trucker.
Wait. Yeah, how can he get off track on his own video? Also, I can tell you right now where he's going towards, and that there's a high demand for Kate Upton, and he's talking about how the high demand, what he's doing is he's proving, he's going to go into the argument that labor is a market in and of itself. It's a market in which the laborer controls. That's what he's using Kate Upton as an example.
All right.
For Kate's labor, requiring them to offer increasingly higher amounts of money in order to get her to sign with them. Consider also persons in the professions of law, medicine, and the financial sector. Do lawyers, doctors, or financial advisors own any means of production? Typically, no. They provide labor in exchange for payment as well. However, because they've spent years developing specific skill sets that most of the population does not have, their labor is worth far more than the labor of burger flippers at McDonald's, again, as a result of supply and demand.
Do you guys understand the disconnect here? It doesn't matter how you're laboring or what you're being paid, whether it's $100 an hour or 10 cents a month, the owners of the means of production pay you less than you generate for them by working said means. Doctors to burger flippers, models to sweatshop workers, you make money by the work you do, and the bourgeois business owners make money by the work you do. So why do we need them? You have nothing to lose but your chains.
God damn, that audio got quiet. Now, I would like to add here that he completely, and I'm not going to assume bad faith on his part here and accuse him of doing a straw man. Instead, I'm going to assume good faith on here and accuse him of doing a derp.
Well,
What
I
he
will
missed.
say that there is like, I'm not going to say that every single time that Smiles like strawmans my 2 cents, like maybe it's accidental or something, but nonetheless, if whether or not you want to call it a technical strawman, I don't really care. He's still mistakening a lot of my 2 cents argument, especially although the slavery one, you could almost assume that SmileyP was the closest thing to bad faith, probably.
Oh, that was bad faith through and through. Like, that was bad faith on his part.
I mean,
but this part right here,
Miles does not know any ANCAPs, has not interacted with any ANCAPs at all, because ANCAPs obviously against slavery and do not have a technical gripe against anti-slavery laws in of themselves.
Yeah, they don't have a moral gripe against them.
Yeah. They just have a gripe against the government, and obviously if the government is to be completely dismantled, then by default those anti-slavery laws are going to disintegrate along with the government. But at the same time, even outside of government, they're not going to be for slavery, at least not in the way that it was in the transatlantic slave trade.
Well, I would like to add for this part here, the problem is that Smiley misunderstands what My 2 Cents was going for. And maybe that was My 2 Cents' fault in the fact that he's not being very explicit about it. But what he's pointing out is that the laborer does own a means of production. And the means of production that the laborer owns is himself. And just like every other thing in this world, it is a market. It's a market that is controlled explicitly by the bodies and minds of the people doing the labor. And that's what he pointed out. You can raise the value of yourself. You can raise your labor's value by going to college, by getting special training, or by just being naturally ridiculously hot, like Kate Upton.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're owned by someone else, aka actual slavery, then you, in a way, own your own production, your own means of production. You can take your means, or more specifically, your production to someone else, and they wouldn't get any means out of you.
By the way, I would just like to point out, you could use this argument, this thought thread, to create a communist argument that's anti-immigration. This is why Bernie Sanders was for closed borders until rather recently.
All right, continue.
Yeah.
Nope.
He goes on a little bit about wages and things like that, which is not really relevant to the conversation because it's really about the means of production, so I decided to cut it out. Link to his original video in the description. Thank you for watching.
All right, that's about it, folks. He got like 47 seconds of outro.
Maybe he's going to do some mad dabs.
Yeah, no, it's just him doing his white guy dabbing. Nonetheless, though.
White man finally creates a dance move, and every other white man hates it.
That's about it, folks, as far as that video goes. I mean, I will say that there is probably a whole lot of misnomers on My 2 Cents' part in his rhetoric of trying to refute labor and, well, more specifically, class theory within Marxism. But nonetheless, honestly, I think that it is kind of trivial. That's almost meaningless. Whatever class you want to, like, say that a person technically is part of or whatever.
Well, I wouldn't even say that there was misnomers as much as My 2 Cents wasn't as explicit as he could be, in that his point is that one cannot be oppressed and freakishly wealthy at the same time. It's a logical fallacy.
Yep. And so, moving on to the next subject, everybody. Jacob Blake, the Jacob Blake shooting. I would, of course, be remiss to not talk about this subject. And, of course, I am remiss for not talking about a whole lot of subjects in regards of George Floyd and riots that happened even after I had released my Floyd Riot Strike Force editorial. But if y'all want to like know a little bit more information about the riots themselves, then I suggest go over and watching Dawn the Pleb's channel, Plebeian Media. He does daily streams talking about this stuff a whole lot more often. Me, I don't particularly have the time, as I am like still in the process of unpacking my stuff. I work a full-time job, and at the same time also trying to find
He's a fucking prawl, guys. Make fun of him.
And also trying to, at the same time, find a new job. Nothing against my old job, just want to get an actual welding job rather than constantly delivery driving. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about Jacob Blake. And of course, Don had already talked about this subject himself. If you want to watch that stream, it's called Here We Go Again. I might actually link that stream down below if you guys want to watch it yourself. But nonetheless, I still have my own words that I want, my own select words that I want to talk about in regards of Jacob Blake, myself. I'm sure that my Reckless Truck will as well. And two voices talking about this in a certain way is better than one. So that's why we're here right now. Oh god, no. I'm not even going to read that chat comment right there, Metal Doomer.
Damn it, what's it say?
Who's excited for the Owen and Zach gay fanfiction?
The what?
Who is excited for the Owen and Zach gay fanfiction? I can hear your mumbling in the background right there. That is obviously the audio from my computer that is playing in the background of your microphone, what your microphone is picking up.
No, not me.
Well,
I was just gonna say, you know, at least you'd hook up with a black person.
So much for not reading that JC Armitage says. Whatever, JC. I'm clipping that audio, says Metal Doomer. I suggest you don't, Metal Doomer. I read that chat comment, and technically, you know what, I will say that it is kind of a bullshit ceasefire that I didn't even necessarily get into the talks of talking about, but nonetheless, there is a bit of a ceasefire between myself, Owen, and Rin Michaelis, so I don't want to...
Jesus, what happened? What did I miss?
Oh, maybe I'll tell you about it later, but nonetheless...
Fair enough.
But nonetheless, let's get back on topic, and he says that he's kidding, by the way.
Jacob Flake, right?
Yeah, Jacob Flake, that's perfect. Perfect nickname. But yes, Jacob Blake. There are riots done in the name of this guy because the typical race narrative that gets played with by the left, systemic racism within the police force. He was shot because he was black and he was totally innocent, except he wasn't exactly innocent. Is one thing.
He was a fucking child diddler. He deserved much worse than he got. There you go.
There it is, folks. Reckless Trucker says it himself. Now, I do want to say that Reckless Trucker, wherever you read that piece of information, because I personally haven't read it, wherever you read it, like, link me the article.
Ben Shapiro got it from the local police logs, the public police logs of the area.
Oh. Is that on the Daily Wire channel then, or website? Excuse me. All right, I'll have to
you'll find it there.
Look more into it, but. Irregardless of what the age of the victim is, nonetheless, there was still a warrant for Jacob Blake's arrest for sexual assault. Now,
of a minor.
Yeah, the police pursued him, and people are saying that they were pursuing him for nothing, supposedly. Like Jacob Blake was trying to break up some argument that was happening between two girls. I think that was roughly what the story was. He was being oh so virtuous, and of course, breaking up a fight between two people that is completely meaningless. That's all fair and dandy, but outside of that,
it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. Outside of that, Jacob Blake is not some guardian angel or some other bullcrap like that. He was wanted for sexual assault allegations. So they were like having his arrest for that, and he just kept on walking over to his car and even kind of
even better than that.
Wait, and possibly even went for a gun within his car, or at least what could be seen by the police officers themselves during the incident. So there is at least a reasonable case as to why the police officers shot him, in all honesty. But in all honesty, why are people like shedding tears over this guy who had an arrest warrant in his name? I mean, until the arrest warrant can be until the wait, I'm almost done. Until the arrest warrant can be debunked, it seems that all the people that are rioting in his name are being bigger jackasses than the bigger immoral jackasses than the people who rioted over George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, who were like at least a little bit more innocent, if not a whole lot more innocent than Jacob Blake. Go on.
All right, I would like to add that a recent video actually came up from the other side of the car, and it's about 40 seconds longer. And what it shows is the cops talking to him. He's very compliant until the cops try to put him in handcuffs and whatnot, at which point he shakes off 2 cops, shoves one of them down, and then the first video starts. He walks over to his car, and it's on the opposite side, so you can actually see what he's doing with his hands and stuff. And he reached into the side, down the window while the door was closed, into the window and reached down the side of the door. Right? So think about it. You're a cop. This dude just got up and shoved 2 people off of him, and now he's reaching into his car like he's grabbing a weapon. Right? On top of that, let's say he was getting into his car. Let's say the first story was right. Well, this is a guy who has a massive history of domestic violence involving women and children, by the way, and currently has a warrant for the sexual assault of a minor, specifically statutory rape, I believe.
Yeah, there's like this website called Racine County Eye goes talking about the even more criminal history that he has back in 2015, actually, and then this shit gets caught up to him again. Go on.
Right, but here's the thing: considering the warrant that was out for him, and considering the fact that there was kids in the car, the cops literally cannot let him get into a vehicle with children and drive off. He's already shown previously he's willing to abuse and sexually abuse children.
Right.
Also, I would like to say, drinks up, boys. He is now paralyzed from the waist down. So, Jacob Blake sexually assaults a child. God says skedaddle, skedoodle. You can't use your noodle.
I will say that if that can be proven true, well then outright I would say that Jacob Blake, morally speaking anyways, like legally speaking, police probably did not have jurisdiction to kill him, but morally speaking, if he really is a kid diddler, well then fuck him, kill him. What?
He's alive. He's just paralyzed. He's alive. He's just paralyzed from the waist.
No. I got you. He's only wounded, but police could have almost killed him. But I'm just saying that legally speaking, they might have not had jurisdiction to even so much injure him, much less kill him, if that was even a possibility. But morally speaking, if it's true that he is a kid diddler, well then, yeah, fuck him. He deserves at least the injury, if not more than that. And so I do not know.
Well, he won't be able to use his noodle anymore, so that's pretty funny.
I am not going to stake my position. I mean, Reckless Trucker obviously has knows a whole lot more information about this, or at least a little bit more. I'm not going to stake my my position to that, but I am at least going to stake my position in the sexual assault warrant itself, even regardless of what the age of the victims were. And this comes from the Chicago Tribune. Like, yes, Breitbart is talking about that bit of criminal history, and people are saying, oh, you're citing Breitbart, that it's so desperate, you're trying to justify your white supremacy or whatever else have you. I've been seeing that.
The mask is slipping, guy.
Yes, people pulling the whole race baiting tactics towards anybody who would even dare talk about the arrest warrant on Jacob Blake. And can you turn down your audio there? I can really badly hear a mumble.
I am very sorry. I blame Obama.
Obama. Oh yeah, please turn on your audio.
Thanks, Obama. Is this better?
Yes, but not particularly. Might want to turn it down some more. We are no longer responding to SmileyP, so we do not need to crank up that audio or whatever.
Is this better?
Testing 1 2 3. Yeah, I don't hear mumbling anymore.
Obama is a pooper head.
Anyway, but yes, people are playing the whole race baiting, not only towards the police, but also towards anybody that would be talking about the sexual assault warrant that is put on this guy, saying that they're trying to justify their white supremacy or whatever, and by citing Breitbart or whatever else have you. But here's the thing, though. Breitbart actually goes citing this website that I have pulled up. I don't have Breitbart pulled up, but I have this website called Chicago Tribune pulled up. And they themselves even go a little bit, at least implying some race baiting towards a Wisconsin. I think that's where this took place, right? Yeah, Wisconsin.
Kenosha or some shit.
Wisconsin, yes, Kenosha, Wisconsin. There was a Wisconsin state representative who was saying that the riots are overblown and that they are too soon. And at one point, this article was all like, says so-and-so House representative who is white and lives so-and-so far away from Kenosha. And I'm thinking to myself, why?
A white man, the white man.
Yeah, didn't you know that you're not allowed to talk about this subject because you are freaking white?
All you have to know is he was a white man.
Yeah.
Oppressing our brothers.
But
up in here.
Nonetheless, his race and how far away he lives from Kenosha, that is completely irrelevant. He obviously can speak his opinion about how he thinks that the rioters are unjustified, how he thinks these Blake riots are unjustified, and I, quite frankly, think they're unjustified too. Fuck them. Even more so than the Floyd riots.
Zach, all I am saying is how dare you judge people that are destroying other people's livelihoods? How dare you?
Precisely. But yeah, this Chicago Tribune doesn't explicitly criticize the state representative for criticizing the riots, but they almost kind of imply it or something by bringing up something so freaking trivial like his skin color and so forth. But I'm digressing. There is some implications of this website having some left leanings nonetheless, and even they can admit that there was a sexual assault warrant on Jacob Blake. So that was why that people were trying to arrest him, why cops were trying to arrest him, and why ultimately I think that nobody should really shed a tear for this guy. Honestly, I mean, unless those the warrant or the claims can be absolutely debunked, people should at least wait, if nothing else. And ultimately, because of not only that, the sexual assault warrant, but also the fact that he was being aggressive with the cops, trying to go for his own gun to possibly fight back against the cops, all that combined, I say overall the cops were more or less in the right.
I'd have shot his ass.
Yeah. If I saw that somebody being overly aggressive with me was going for his car, possibly trying to grab a gun, I don't know if I would have shot to kill, but I would have done something possibly violent, shot him in some sort of way so that he does not grab whatever weapon or whatever.
Yeah, and the thing is, he clearly wasn't going into the car, but even if he was, that's a minimum 1-ton weapon right there. Let's face the reality: cars dangerous. They kill more people than guns.
Yep, but gun debate aside, though, folks. So that's all that I have to say about the whole Jacob Blake situation. Maybe I'll go covering it again later on if there's some more interesting information that goes on. I'll keep an eye out if it turns out that it's not true, that he was he sexually assaulted somebody. But I am highly doubtful of that. That side of the story seems kind of one-sided. That he is a sex hound. What?
I wanted to add, we know for a fact, by the way, I'm just saying as an addition to everything, that I know why the Democrats are going super hard into this race baiting stuff right now. You want to know why?
Because election?
Not just because election, but because them there blacks that are supposed to be our votes get back on that there plantation. Black people are actually, there's a lot of evidence they're going to vote Republican this election, more so than they have in decades. And also, I would like to add, Democrats wouldn't be doing this kind of stuff unless they were afraid that the blacks aren't going to vote for them. That's...
By the way, folks, I just want to say that honestly, for some reason, YouTube on my web browser right here on my computer is not updating the chat. But looking at what I see on my phone here, after Metal Doomer says that he's kidding about the clipping of that piece of audio from the stream, He asks, are you going to do a response video to Nick Herr? I don't even know who Nick Herr is, Metal Doomer. Talk to me about it in Discord DMs. Memes of Destruction says, police were called for a domestic incident, according to Forbes. All right. And Doomer says, I hope all of you are armed because they may come to a town near you. That is the scary part, Doomer. Memes also says...
Doomer. Oh, wrong key.
Talk, trucker.
Can you hear me?
I can
Can
hear
you hear?
We can all hear you.
I just wanted to say that yes, I'm armed.
Oh, cool. By the way, your camera is not showing right now because I don't have StreamYard on this, the screen sharing. So sorry to say.
Oh well,
trucker.
I'm offended.
I'm sorry to say I'm gonna have to figure that out. How to include other people's cameras into the stream, but nonetheless, did the police know this at the time, says Memes of Destruction? I would think so, because the warrant for his arrest for sexual assault is at least a month old, if not older than that. So it's probably
also,
general known
was
information within that police department. Go on, trucker.
Also, I would like to add, since they found him in his car, they definitely ran his plates, and they definitely had the time to run his plates, because in the beginning, he was compliant for the first 40 seconds or so. And so they definitely had time to run his plates, and then they saw the warrant and everything else. At the very least, they got his name from him, because if I remember correctly, in the beginning, I believe they also had his ID in their custody. I don't remember that part exactly too well right now, though. I'm drunk. But yeah, they knew who he was, and they knew he had a warrant.
So catching up more on the chat, JC Armitage says, I'll admit that I haven't looked much into this one, but if what is being said is true, then this sounds more like a Michael Brown 2.0. No, I would say worse than Michael Brown 2.0, because the most that Michael Brown did was try to rob a store. This guy, freaking Jacob Blake, was not only trying to go for a gun in his aggression, whereas Michael Brown did not really have a gun, he just had brute force against Darren Wilson. Jacob Blake, he's also worse in what he committed, like sexual assault. You have sexual assault in Jacob Blake's case, Michael Brown just robbery in his case. So yeah, worse.
No,
than
Michael Brown was the guy who assaulted the cop, wasn't he?
Yeah, Michael Brown was the big dude in Ferguson back in 2015, I think it was.
Oh my god. But I recently learned something. A homie of mine actually knows people that were personal friends of Michael Brown. And you know what every single one of his own personal friends told him?
Quickly, go on.
That, yeah, Michael Brown did it and deserved it.
Oh, shit.
Even his own friends weren't willing to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, back then I was thinking that the riots were not justified, because you're basically rioting over somebody who wasn't exactly an upstanding guy to begin with. I mean, even if you want to say that technically Darren Wilson shouldn't have shot him, he shot a robber at least. He did not shoot an innocent guy.
How dare you? All people that commit crimes and harm other people are innocent.
But now, so many years later, I think of things from a more libertarian aspect of things, and I say that even if Michael Brown was completely innocent, that riots are not justified, especially when you are targeting private businesses that have nothing to do with said police brutality case. So for that, I say a good old thank you to libertarian ethics for putting my mind more in perspective in regards of riots. So there is that.
Well, did you see Ben Shapiro's response to these round of riots?
No, I might have to look at it, especially with the.
It was perfect,
talking about.
Right? There was a church that had cars and dumpsters on fire in front of it, and his response was, "Yes, that dumpster is incredibly systemically racist."
Yes, but anyway, continue on with JC Armitage's group chat, because sorry I did not complete it, JC. I'll admit that I haven't looked much into this, but if what is being said is true, then this sounds more like Michael Brown 2.0, much worse, like I said earlier, rather than Eric Garner or Breonna Taylor 2.0. In that case, good riddance. Exactly. Memes of Destruction says, and this is why they call us racist. Precisely, because you dare go talking about the criminality of a person who just happens to be black.
and was literally in the process of committing a crime.
You racist. How dare you. I would have done worse, Tim, says Metal Doomer. Of course you would.
Right up the butt. Right up the butt.
Our token, I don't think he would have done that, but our token pedo hunter would have definitely done worse. JC says, thanks, Obama. Thanks, Mobamba, says Metal Doomer. And JC Armitage also says, like, in addition to all the points about sexual assault allegation, funny how the Me Too crowd is silent on this one.
Ooh, yeah. Well, they're very silent about,
it's
Kamala Harris's dick sucking.
It's like if there's a freaking agenda going on, folks.
Oh, my God.
You wouldn't say. I see New York has their own bread lines now, but Bernie Sanders considers that a good thing, says JC Armitage. Oh, yes, we have to get to this story here.
That's a good thing.
It could be a case of... You know what? I'm just going to get on. We're going to put aside that subject, the whole Jacob Blake subject. We are done with it, folks. So, moving on. This is from the New York Post. I saw this shared on Facebook, and I just wanted to review it because if so, this would be like another quintessential example as to how the freaking lockdowns over this Rona pandemic is immoral.
A good thing. A good thing.
Yeah, sure, Bernie Sanders. You can go fuck yourself.
That's anti-Semitic.
You can go...
I mean, no, I'm not Jewish in faith, but I will pull that card.
Okay, so hungry New Yorkers form quarter-mile line for free food in Queens. The line stretched a quarter mile before the sun was barely up Saturday, snaking around corners like bread lines in the 1930s. But the hungry in Queens are today's New Yorkers, left jobless by the coronavirus. More like the freaking pandemic. Actually, now that I think about it, I did not see the article shared on Facebook. I just saw a screen cap of this shared on Facebook, and then I searched up the article myself and I found it. But yeah.
By the way, I would like to add that de Blasio, great, perfect, wonderful mayor, saved the world from coronavirus that he is. Just recently said that we might have to lock down until next summer.
Fucking kill me.
Elect more Democrats, guys. Elect more Democrats.
Yeah, so have them shooting themselves in the foot more so that Republicans can get in. No, I'm halfway, actually probably more than halfway.
Viva la Repubblica!
Actually, I'm more than halfway joking on that because in a lot of ways, Republicans are very flawed.
But they're better than Democrats.
Marginally, but nonetheless.
Marginally? Shit, they ain't communist.
They're like for government restrictions in their own right, but I digress. Left jobless by the coronavirus, quote unquote. More like the freaking lockdowns. Until the pandemic.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah, it was more because of the response that people took to the coronavirus, not the coronavirus itself. But nonetheless, until the pandemic struck the city, La Yorna Food Pantry used to hand out groceries to roughly 1,000 families a week. Will you stop fapping off, trucker, damn it?
No.
Now the figure tops 10,000. And volunteers serve lunch every day to 1,000. Many of them kids with growling stomachs. Across the 5 boroughs, the hungry number in the hundreds of thousands, the Food Bank of New York estimates. It reminds me of the picture from the Great Depression where a man in a suit and tie is giving another man in a suit and tie an apple. That's all he had. La Jornadas, okay, I think that's how you pronounce it. La Jornadas, Pedro Rodriguez told the Post. We give all we have, but that's not enough. Seniors, moms, and kids, singles, many immigrants from China and Mexico.
China.
No, nonetheless, wait for hours. They turn out in droves wherever and whenever the food pantry's truck shows up. We feel like we are underwater, drowning in a tsunami of people. Rodriguez, a volunteer who acts as the food pantry's executive director, told the Post, "This isn't like a little rain coming down. The numbers are unbelievable." In less than an hour Saturday, Rodriguez and his army of other volunteers, nearly 400 spread across Queens, checked off almost 250 names from the appointment list. The protocol used to be first come, first served until the needy started showing up before dawn because they were afraid La La Jornada would run out of food. Man,
La Jornada.
I'm way too fucking white to pronounce that.
Pinche güero no habla español. Punto gringo.
Yeah, that was very gringo pronunciation right there. Oh, YouTube, please don't take me down. Anyway.
Pinche jotos.
Once in late March, the line covered 28 blocks. Walter Barrera still arrived at 6 a.m. to pick up his family's groceries for the coming week. Rice, potatoes, cans of soup, even fruit and vegetables. Barrera, 50, has stopped by the food pantry every Saturday since he lost his Barrera. Okay, whatever. Has stopped by the food pantry every Saturday since he lost his construction job 4 months ago. Gee, I wonder why. Could it possibly be because people aren't able to get ambitious enough to want to do upgrades to their own businesses, their own property, so therefore construction companies have less work, so therefore they cannot sustain those employees, and therefore they have to do layoffs, and that's how this person ended up in his fix? This is what happens when you have government mandated lockdowns and shutdowns of businesses, y'all. It has a ripple effect.
This is what happens when you elect Democrats.
Yeah, largely so. I mean, I guess that is one thing that I will at least grant to Republicans in light of the pandemic. I mean, Trump himself, he did those executive orders against hoarding and quote-unquote
they were unenforceable, and he knew it.
But, well, no, I don't know. It still kind of set the bad precedent. A cop can just go up to a person and say, hey, by this executive order, I should be like, or you should be doing this, and if you don't, we are going to start shutting down your business, and that's going to be the route that they go about. They go like, because of executive order so-and-so signed by Donald Trump, they can just do that. I don't know.
Fair enough.
So it still set the bad precedent. Like, Republicans are not squeaky clean on this. But I will at least grant that, generally speaking, Democrats have been a whole lot more heavy-handed in response to the lockdowns than Republicans. Like the one girl who all the anti-lockdown people keep on saying looks hot as fuck but has almost no brains. The governor up in Michigan, I mean. And, of course, Andrew Cuomo, Laura Kelly here in Kansas. I mean, Laura Kelly, relatively speaking, has been as heavy-handed in the grand scheme of Democrat governors, but she's still trying to act like a big old monarch and trying to shut down churches, at least.
She can't be heavy-handed. She's in a red state.
Yeah, exactly. She's surrounded by a Republican legislature, so they have some checks to it. But she was trying to do an executive order, for lack of better terminology. Actually, it might actually be officially called an executive order, but she was doing an executive order against churches, to shut them down, and the Republicans were all like, no, you can't do this, and then she took them to court to try and enforce her executive order, and so here we are now, folks. Churches are either restricted on how many people they can have in, if not completely shut down here in Kansas. Thanks a lot, Laura Kelly. You are definitely not getting my vote.
Well, those aren't her voters.
Extreme
What
Health
does she
is in the red again. Damn it.
Hey, homie.
I hope it doesn't get bad. Go on.
Zach, I need to go now, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
It's all right, Trucker. I'm glad that you could at least come on, and it seems that the freaking stream has, like, cut out again as far as feed goes.
Oof.
Yeah, mega oof. Yeah, I mean,
mega
it come back up. So anyway, I would like to thank Reckless Trucker, if I have feed anyways. I'd like to thank Reckless Trucker for coming on, and we welcome him with wide open arms as a contribution, as a co-host to this panel, to this podcast being Strike Force News.
You're too sweet.
Anyway, have a good night, Trucker.
You too. I love you.
Yeah. Go wank yourself off so that you can, like, get less horny, faggot. But anyway. We're still a little bit in the red. Hopefully we can, like, remain at least somewhat stable.
Too sweet.
Anyway. Have a good night, Trucker.
You too. I love you.
Yeah. Go wank yourself off so that you can, like, get less horny, faggot. But anyway. We're still a little bit in the red. Hopefully we can, like, remain at least somewhat stable. How are you all able to hear me? Are you still able to hear me right now as far as stream health goes? Am I running smoothly at least? I'm going to try my best to keep an eye on the chat. Go ahead and tell me if you are unable to hear me or not. I'm playing it on my phone. It seems that overall I'm running smoothly, despite stream health being said to be in the red by my YouTube browser here. Again, I'm sorry, folks, about the internet connection. I'm going to have to figure something out. Maybe get a beefier, internet router. Where stream health is in the green again, so let's continue on. He can't find work, and neither can his two older sons, 19 and 17. His youngest son is 11. Money is so tight, friends and relatives are helping him with the $2,300 a month he pays for his 3-bedroom apartment in Flushing, where he lives with his wife and all of their sons. What do I tell my children when they look at me with hungry bellies, especially my 11-year-old son, said Barrera, who came from South America 2 decades ago. It breaks my heart. I'm their father. I'm supposed to feed them. Is the stream messing up for anyone else, or is it just me? Okay, so JC Armitage, unfortunately says that she's having connection issues with the stream, or at least she's noticing the connection issues that I'm having of keeping the stream going. But I hope that the stream can at least pick up most of what I'm reading from this article. Let's continue on. Julio Moncayo has a wife and a 7-year-old daughter to support. The 40-year-old construction worker puts in 2 or 3 days a week, but the pay isn't enough to cover the $1,500 in rent for his family's 2-bedroom apartment in Flushing or their grocery bill. Excuse me. I can't be proud. I have to come here. I have to feed my family, Moncayo told the Post. It's tough. What am I going to do? On Sundays, La Jornada's truck sets up in Woodside. Wednesdays, Rodriguez makes two stops in the Corona neighborhood. Corona neighborhood. Is that the literal name of the neighborhood, Corona, or are you just calling it Corona because it's Corona infested? I don't know. Either way, Thursdays are set aside for the roughly 900 who live in the public housing development where the food pantry is based. Seniors and those with disabilities come on Fridays, and Saturdays are for anyone who needs a helping hand. As for Rodriguez, wrapped up Saturday, he was on the hunt to restock the truck for Sunday. He gets groceries from wherever he can. The United Way, churches, supermarkets, the Food Bank of New York, the more fortunate. We were never prepared for this, he said, but we've grown into this. With J.C. Rice. All right. At this point, every news source is biased, so who cares? Breitbart's Breitbart. Okay. I guess fair enough. True Grave. Well, I don't know. Yeah, everybody has a bias in some sort of way or another, True Grave. But I still like to try to go for the sources that have as little bias as possible, if that's at all possible, anyways. And besides that, you still have to take into account whether or not other people consider those sources credible or not. And if other people consider them highly uncredible, well then not much I can do about it except possibly go to another article. So that's why I went to Chicago Tribune. But I digress. So this is from Real Clear Politics. This was a bit of a funny article, and it's just a bit of irony on Republicans' part. I've gone bashing the left throughout most of this stream, but now I'm going to be reading something from Rand Paul, somebody, who's more respectably on the right, going against other people on the right, and I'm likely going to agree with most of his criticisms towards Republicans because Republicans have been very fiscally conservative ever since Trump got in. But Rand Paul, according to Real Clear Politics, Republicans should apologize to Obama for complaining about his spending. Of course, that is sarcasm right there, folks. Just for a way of Rand Paul pointing out some irony and even hypocrisy in the Republicans. in the Republicans. Senator Rand Paul, Republican Kentucky, said Republicans should be forbidden from saying they are fiscally conservative in his criticism of the much-debated multi-trillion coronavirus relief package. In an interview Wednesday with FNC's Fox News Centrals, I guess, or Fox News channels, excuse me, Neil Cavuto, Paul said Republicans are acting Democrats and should apologize to former President Barack Obama for complaining that he was spending and borrowing too much. How old is this article? August 6, 2020, so it's not too old. Anyway, I'm very upset with my colleagues, Paul said. They should apologize now to President Obama for complaining that he was spending and borrowing too much. He was a piker compared to their borrowing that they're doing now. They should have to apologize, and they should, by law, be forbidden from ever saying that they're fiscally conservative, Paul added. Look at gold. Gold's over $2,000 an ounce, Paul said of the precious metal. People are worried. The politicians are out here saying, oh no, we just have to buy more voters by flooding the economy with money. It's funny that people say, well, Washington, Republicans and Democrats never compromise and can't get along. That's actually the opposite of the truth. Republicans and Democrats compromise every day of the year to spend money we don't have, he said. Exactly, Rand Paul. Thanks for articulating that. Paul said Republicans in Congress are making Obama look like a conservative in their attempt to institutionalize unemployment by extending benefits. Yeah, I am going to say, at this rate, it seems that Trump is going to become a bigger spender than Obama. Wah, 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 wah. So, personally, in my opinion, when it comes to who I'm voting for, fiscal conservatism doesn't hardly come into play for me. Now, that's not to say that I'm definitely voting for Trump. I honestly don't know who I'm going to vote for. If I do end up voting for Trump, it is going to be the most reluctant vote of all time that I give to anyone. Did Trucker leave? Asked JC. Yeah, he left. I guess the stream kind of cut out at that point. But yeah, we set off our goodbye to Reckless Trucker and thanked him for coming on. But yeah. And if at any point that I go cutting out in the middle of my spiel here, responding and reading to these articles and whatnot, by all means, the articles are going to be in the description box after I'm done here. They're once again making President Obama look conservative, the senator said. What did they do in 2008? They simply extended the benefits, but they didn't ramp up the benefits. When you increase the benefits and you pay people, the government pays them more for not working than they were getting for working. You institutionalize unemployment. Yeah, and removing the work mandate is another attempt of institutionalizing unemployment. Even President Obama didn't do that, Paul said. They extended unemployment, which is actually something I would vote for. To extend unemployment at the level that it is has always been decided to be, not adding to it at the level that the states have decided they can afford. That, as a temporary measure, would have been okay, says Paul said. Paul said. I will say that it is a little bit of a snag on Rand Paul's part, but ultimately I'm getting the implications that he's finding it to be more of an area of compromise. Like, he isn't ideally for that sort of thing. He's just all like, for right now, I guess I can sort of compromise on that, or rhetoric along those lines. But you can't keep doing this, he continued. We can't keep borrowing another $1 trillion every couple of months. The only way to fix this government-mandated depression is get rid of the government mandates and let the economy function as it did normally. Exactly, Paul. We had a great economy until the government mandated this depression, Paul finished. Alright, so here's a little soundbite. I do not know of how much I'm going to end up rereading with this little transcript that they provided. Neil Cavuto, Fox News. I know you have very strong feelings on the spending that's going on here, and the fact the two sides are getting closer together on writing off on what will be, at the very least, Senator, I'm sure, $1 trillion plus stimulus measure, on top of the $10 trillion we have already spent between congressional relief and Federal Reserve rescues to just keep everything humming. If they are close to a deal that has a package cost of $1 trillion or better, are you going to vote for it? And Paul says, absolutely not. Hear, hear, Paul. Keep it up. It's funny that people say, well, Washington, Republicans and Democrats never compromise and can't get along. That's actually the opposite of the truth. Okay, yeah, it's a whole lot of rereading of the transcript. I probably should have pre-read this article like I did these 3 articles talking about Jacob Blake. But here we are, though. It's funny that people... That's actually the opposite of the truth. Republicans and Democrats compromise every day of the year to spend money we don't have. So... we were already running $1 trillion short just with our normal budgetary expenses for the year. We added $3 trillion. Now they're talking about another $1 to $2 trillion. We're going to borrow $5 trillion in 5 months. I remember when conservatives complained about George W. Bush borrowing $5 trillion in 8 years. We're going to borrow $5 trillion in 5 months. Look, or actually, that was more of a question on Paul's part. We're going to borrow $5 trillion in 5 months? Look at gold. Gold's over $2,000 an ounce. People are worried. The politicians are out here saying, oh no, we just have to buy more voters by flooding the economy with money. Well, guess what? What if conservatives or libertarians that vote Republican decide, the hell with it, you're acting like Democrats, we're either staying home or voting for a third party? You know what? They might just lose this election because they're acting like Democrats now. Exactly, Paul. And that's why I'm not absolute confident that Trump will win. To all Republican voters out there, to all my conservative colleagues, brace yourselves if Trump ends up losing to Biden. Because that is still a possibility. And so I'm very upset with my colleagues. They went 8 years. They should apologize now to President Obama for complaining that he was spending and borrowing too much. He was a piker compared to their borrowing that they're doing now. So yes, these Republicans, they should have to apologize, and they should, by law, be forbidden from ever saying that they're fiscally conservative. That's just tongue-in-cheek. Okay. Yeah, he edited it himself. That's just tongue-in-cheek. So basically sarcasm on his part. Crosstalk between Cavuto and Paul, so couldn't make it out in the transcript. Cavuto. Well, part of that counting to the spending, whatever you want to call it, is this new plan that calls for extending the federal unemployment benefit, right now at about $600 a week. A lot of your colleagues are apparently closer to letting that continue. The only issue is for how long. What do you think of that? Paul says, well, here's the thing. They're once again making President Obama look conservative. What did they do in 2008? They simply extended the benefits, but they didn't ramp up the benefits. When you increase the benefits and you pay people, the government pays them more for not working than they were getting for working. You institutionalize unemployment. Even President Obama didn't do that. They extended unemployment, which is actually something I would vote for, to extend unemployment at the level that it is, has always been decided to be. Not adding to it at the level that the states have decided they can afford. That, as a temporary measure, would have been okay. Excuse me. But you can't keep doing this. We can't keep borrowing another $1 trillion every couple of months. The only way to fix this government-mandated depression is get rid of the government mandates and let the economy function as it did normally. We had a great economy until the government mandated this depression. And so that's the end of the transcript, and by extension, that's the end of the article. And I am starting to lose my voice. It was a fun live stream. I am not going to lie, folks. I am glad that Reckless Trucker was able to join us. And I was glad to finally get out of the way responding to this video by SmileyP. And if SmileyP wants to respond to this stream, I highly welcome it. And my stream health is in the red again, so I better finish up quickly. I highly welcome it. And Truegrave says, Michael Brown assaulted a police officer. Well, I know that he was attempting to assault a police officer. I just did not know if he actively did assault a police officer before he was shot. Oh, God.